2011, a couple of years after you said it'd be your last stint of swimming, you swam at 2:19.7 in the 200 fly at Coast Conference Championship Finals. 11 years later, you slotted yourself in at 9th all-time in the team rankings for Las Positas, and you swam 4 seconds faster at 2:15.52. So, what do you think made you so much faster over a decade later?
Well, I had no idea. I actually saw your interview question this morning, and I was like, did I do that? I did not even know that happened. So to answer your question, I literally just showed up and, listened to the workouts that Craighead had me do. And that I wasn't even at most of the, not most of the practices. I was at as many practices as I could be, but I really just was there when I could be and put in the work as much as I could. And I guess, got up on the block and went. So I would say probably the water polo shape would have carried me over. But I like to stay in, decent shape. So fitness is a huge part of my life. So I'm always running and trying to swim. And I just started jiu-jitsu actually. So it's I don't know, I guess over the course of those years, that gap, just staying fit and then maybe growing into a 30-year-old body put me in a faster and better position than I was when I was a teenager, I guess. I don't know. I don't have a secret formula.
That was the whole basis of me wanting to get you on for an interview. Is I don't know if you saw this summer, Gabby Rose is in her 40s and she was 10th at Olympic trials. And Brandon Fisher swims with Tri-Valley Aquatics and he's 35 and he was at Olympic trials, and Matt Grievers has swam at every Olympic trials meet this century.
Wow.
I thought it'd be cool to highlight someone who was doing things similar to that, in my opinion. Just because you're not competing in Olympic trials doesn't mean that going 4 seconds faster than you did as a 20-year-old 10 years later isn't still a really, really cool accomplishment.
Yeah, I don't even know what to say that you're lumping me in with those names. Oh yeah, my buddies, yeah. But actually, Brandon Fisher is a friend of mine. So we had lunch recently, and we both graduated Granada High School 2008, swimming, and awesome guy, love that guy. But I don't know, I don't know the science behind it or whatever, but I can speak to that guy in particular has never stopped working. And I think for men, physical fitness peaks mid 30s. And so, to me, it makes sense that after putting in, that much work over that amount of time, that he's still right there with the guys that I would say genetically are more gifted, the breast, he's a breaststroker.
Yeah.
And you look at the swimmers who swim at the Olympics, they're all massive human beings. So I just think putting in the work and having that mindset of that being the focus, I don't think the age is as inhibitory as one might think. I'm just thinking about other sports too, Tom Brady recently is he was 44 and he was still playing at that level, the top in the NFL. So I think people are built to perform at ages beyond what maybe we thought they could. And it's cool to see, for sure.
Which I think is something that people are coming around to more and more, as more of these athletes are setting that standard of, you don't need to be 20 to be, a really, really good swimmer. People are coming more and more around to the idea that, there are ways to increase your longevity of competing at a higher level.
Yeah, for sure. And it was never my goal to be a competitive swimmer. My focus has always been fitness and activities. It's I just love being busy and being challenged in myself. And so, yeah, that's where I stand and where I come from. Getting up on the block and even playing water polo. For me, it was all about just being part of something, being active, staying in shape, making friends. So that's where my head is at with like life in general.
Which ultimately I think is one of those things that like going into something with that level of a mindset and that like I say relaxed, but it feels like the wrong word. But going into it with a positive mindset, I'll say, it can lead to those like positive results that just come from enjoying yourself and working hard.
Yeah, no, mindset is so important. And like growth mindset in particular is like something I'm really interested in too. It's like, but it's all about yourself. Like I want to improve. And so I'll show up to practice or I'll do a meet or I'll play in a game. And the goal is to improve and a continuous improvement over time. And like, I'm 33, I'm turning 34, but like, you know, my goal is the goalpost keeps shifting, but not in a way that it makes it feel like I can never get there. But like, okay, cool. I'm here now. What's next? You know? So like I ran my first half marathon in Livermore, like the Livermore half in March. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I never thought I could run 13 miles. And I was like, well, I wonder what 26 is like. And so I ran the full marathon next and I was like, okay, cool. Like what is next based on my ability at this point in time, and just keep setting goals, keep looking forward. And I don't know, it's working out well for me right now. Like I feel like I'm in a great place with like activities that I'm doing, like work and just having that balance. Like I hate the phrase like work-life balance. I feel like it's so cliche, but like truly, like it's like so important to have like all these different components of your life be in balance, like family and work and activity and fitness and diet and sleep. Like if everything is clicking, like it feels great.
I think like COVID especially like brought around that the idea of like work-life balance is a more prominent thing. If people realize like, oh my God, working 9 to 5, 5 days a week is not the only thing I should be doing with my life.
I was reading like a lot of news articles at the time, which I don't know like how that happened, but because there's nothing else to do, I guess. But like they called like that, there was a time for like corporate America, they called it the Great Resignation, because yeah, people like woke up and like, oh my God, what am I doing with my life? And then I think shortly after like, oh shoot, I actually did need money. So it's like, it was a good wake up call, right? To be like, okay, I don't want to be doing this, but I still need income. So like, I should figure it out. And like, I'm glad you brought that up because, you know, like with relation to swimming, like that's when I got back into it. And the way I got back into it was through Craighead. He reached out to me. So there's Masters water polo in Livermore, and I'd pop in from time to time. I still pop in from time to time. And he was there, and he had been going, and he's like, hey, you should join the Las Positas College team. I'm like, what? Like, I have a family, I have a job, like all this stuff. And he was really insistent that like, he'll make it work. I'm like, don't I need to be a full-time student? He's like, yeah, don't worry about that. And I'm just like, but like, aren't there practices that I need to be at? He's like, yeah, don't worry about that. Just join the team and we'll make it work. And that was awesome. So that was like the spring of 21. It was just us in West Valley. There was like 8 guys on the team, and 2 of them or 3 of them maybe or more had never played water polo. So he just wanted bodies in the pool. So I would play like every second of every game. We had 3 games with West Valley, and then basically just started building a team. So like we had the water polo in spring. It was 3 games. And then I think we did a swim team too. And there's like a couple meets. So I got a free year. And then the fall of, what would that be? 21. The fall of 21 is when, like the guys from Brentwood, like Kyle and Cade and Quentin and Zach, and like those guys came in and actually established like a real team. So he's like, you got to come back for that. I'm like, okay. It was an excuse. I'm like, no, I can't. There's no way. How am I going to make it work? He's like, just come. And so sure enough, like, you know, he got me. And so that was the first year of official water polo. I still hadn't used any eligibility, as you know, because of those weird years of COVID.
Yeah.
Well, then I still had a year of swimming left because I swam in 2011. So I was like, okay, cool, that's cool. I'll join the team. And so I swam that would be spring 22, right? And then I had 1 more year of water polo. And then there was fall of 22. And then I just was like addicted again. So I just kept signing up for the classes, and I actually remembered like how much I missed it. You know, it's like I like had kids young and I graduated we had kids and just like started in corporate America. And I just thought like, well, that's life. Life is life. And then getting back in the pool and taking classes again was like, wait a second, I love this. I forgot how much I loved learning. I forgot how much I loved swimming. So now I'm taking a class every semester, like forever. I'm like, I just signed up for a philosophy class. Like, well, we'll see what that's like. And then I'm like, Craighead, tell me the class I need to sign up for swim. Like, I need to get my ass back in the pool. I remember, like, you are the one that showed me that reminded me that this is part of my life and part of, who I am, I guess. Like, I love swimming and I love taking classes. And so I'm like, I feel so fortunate that he like pushed me to do that despite my circumstances. I had two little kids. Like, we got married, Maya and I got married and like the middle of the water polo season, like he's like, all right, yeah, go ahead, do your marriage. And then like say I do, and then come back. And so it's just like, he totally like worked around my schedule. And I mean, maybe that's why the improved times, I just felt relaxed and happy. So I was able to perform.
Dude, you have no idea how many people I've told the story of like our mile race at conference championships in 2022. Like, that is still one of the coolest races I've ever been a part of. And a part of me is still going to be bummed that I was leading that race with 5 yards to go. And you somehow got the jump on me in that 5 yards.
I mean, if I'm being honest, I didn't get the jump on you in the last 5 yards. Have never swam a mile. I've never swam that race.
Wait, that was your first mile. I was going to ask you about that. Was that your first mile?
It was my first mile, and I had no idea what I was doing. And Kelly was like helping me kind of with pacing, and I'm just like going really slow, like off the bat. I'm like, this is too slow. Like, I kept thinking it was too slow. Well, apparently I think it was, because I had a lot left in the tank for the last 100, specifically the last 50. I knew that I was going to like be able to turn on the jets. And I think I went like under 30 for the.
Yeah, you were, I saw you were 29.4 on the last 50.
Yeah. So like that tells me that I should have been going a little bit hard, but I don't know. I'd never done the race, but
yeah.
I knew that I was closing the distance with you. Like at one point you were a full lap ahead of me, and I was like, okay, I need to like, at least turn it up. And if I pass it,
I was eyeing you the whole time.
Well, you're a distance swimmer, so like I knew like, okay, you're probably going to beat me, but at least I can like, I need to stay within a lap. And then you got like a whole lap, and I was like, shoot, I need to probably turn it up a little bit. And I was like, oh wait, I can go this pace. And so once I started turning it up, I'm like, I should have been doing that the whole time. I mean, 66 laps, you're having like a whole conversation with yourself throughout. I'm just like, oh, what do I need to do today? You know, like, and so
did I leave the stove on at home?
Yeah, oh shoot, I'm swimming. I should focus on this. But yeah, no, that was cool. It was the first time I'd ever ran it. And then I looked up, my parents came to that meet. I think it was like the first swim meet they'd come to like for the whole season. I was like, it's my last swim meet like ever. Well, we'll see. Right. But like, but I'm like, it's probably my last swim meet ever. Like they are the ones that got me into swimming since I was like 6. So I do like 6 and unders, 7, 8s, like all the way until like, middle schoolish, I kind of stopped swimming. But I was like, yeah, come watch me swim. And so like I could hear my dad's whistle. It's very prominent. And it was like, I don't know if I won. Well, actually, I could kind of hear from his whistle that I won. I'm like, this seems like not just like a good job, I'm proud of you, but like you won type of whistle. So I looked up at the board, but I was so confused because I was like, okay, 20
because they were almost exactly the same time.
Yeah. 30 seconds, 34 seconds, 0.4. Like, wait, did we tie? Point like 4.3 and 0.49.
Yeah.
And then I remember Jason saying like 6 100ths, like what a race, like the mile's never exciting. But no, I didn't care if you won or I won. That was fun that we made the mile exciting.
And I mean, like I couldn't be mad at the result at all because I dropped like 45 seconds in that swim.
Dude,
like,
that's crazy.
Dude, like that was a huge best time for me, and I'm like, if I'm gonna lose to somebody, it might as well be you going out on top, like that. If I'm gonna lose like that, it might as well be in that fashion.
Oh man, it was a good fashion regardless. Like whether you won or I won, it was like that was fun. And there was a couple races that I had like that. I mean, now that I'm thinking,
you did that in the 2 fly like that day.
The 200 butterfly, like it was like I think it was like later that day. Yeah. And like the kids were there for that. Maya came for that. I think my sister was there for that. And Like, I must have passed like 2 or 3 people in the last like 10 yards. I was like, holy smokes. Like, that was
there was a guy who was like 3/4 of a lap ahead of you, and he just started going nowhere. I think he had to be done. Yeah, I think he had to be carried out of the pool. Like, I think his body just gave up on him.
I really do hope he's okay. But like, it was perplexing to me that like the momentum didn't just like carry him in. He literally stopped, and I was like, "Thank you."
We were watching it, and we're like, "No way, he's gonna do it again."
That was so, and I could hear Steve Raggets too in the background, just like screaming. I'm like, I think I could hear him through my cap and the water. I was like, "Is that Steve? This is for you, Steve."
Dude, a year. So I don't know if I ever told you about this. A year later, I lost the mile again in a similar fashion.
Oh no! Is that why you started the podcast? You're like, I need to be.
Well, it was. I dropped like another like 20 seconds, but it was.
Dude, that's awesome.
But it was. This time I was stroke for stroke with the guy for the entire lap, for the entire race. Mm-hmm. Like, literally, we were flipping and we were hundredths of a second apart for 66 laps. And then he got me by 13/100ths of a second.
Well, that's definitely something you can say, is that you make the mile fun to watch.
Yeah. I just looked at Jason and I'm like, I don't know.
But if you add that up, like 35 seconds you improved with the race you did with me, and then another 20 seconds, like you're taking minutes off. Like,
literally. Cool. But I'm like, in the back of my head, I'm like, I lost 3,300 yards of racing by a combined 19/100ths of a second.
That's insane. That's crazy.
I've been on the opposite end of those close finishes. Like, I've won close finishes like that, but it's just such a funny metric to me.
That's No, that's fun. I like how, it being an individual sport and improving can actually be taken to another level with like the competition of swimming to the guy next to you. It's like, okay, cool.
And like when me and that guy touched the wall, like we're like friends to this day. Like,
yeah, because you both know what you're doing. Yeah. There's no words being exchanged, and it's like, hey, we actually made this a sport, didn't we?
Yeah, like we like, he told me afterwards, he's like, I would not have been there. I would not have finished that race that hard without you. And I'm like, me neither. Like, we would not have gone those times without each other.
And I love that too. Like, I mentioned the half marathon and the marathon. It's like, I'm not a super competitive person. Like, the guys that were playing water polo when we were there, like, there's some guys that are super competitive, but it's like, it's really fun to have that element in your life of competition. Like, when I was running, I'd pick someone out that's in front of me. Like, all right, I'm gonna pass that person, and then you pass that person and you pick the next one out. It's the same thing with swimming too. It's nice to have that, like, back, because for a long time I didn't have that. It's like, I'm in sales for work, so like, you're competing with like another sales rep and stuff, but there's like so many factors that like lead to success with anything, but like in the in the corporate world. But it's cool to, like, for swimming and running and anything that's like individual sport or exercise in general, it's like the more you put in, the better you get, and then the more you can compete, and it's fun to do that.
Like, I remember, like, that first season of water polo I did. Like, you were definitely one of the guys on the team who helped me the most. Everybody was helping me learn how to play the game. But, like, I distinctly remember, like, during warm-ups, he'd take me aside and, like, work on something specific with me. And, like, very, like, specific things that I would be able to apply later in the game itself. But that whole season of water polo was crazy. Like, I think I picked, like, the best season to try it out, considering we had like 18 people on the team.
Well, I remember there were specific games that you had the ball and it was like, shoot, and you did. You would shoot, and I think there was a couple. I had one. You definitely made one. Well, I had one really close. They're good shots, right? And it's like, that's why we do it. Wasn't that awesome? You're like, oh, it was okay. You're like, no, do it again. Just kidding. You didn't say that. But I could tell that I know how, like, intimidating it is to, like, start something. Like, I just started jiu-jitsu, right? Like, and it's super cool, and I wanted to wait until I was done with swimming and I could really put my attention to this sport I've been interested in for a long time to actually start. I just started this month. But I mean, I can speak from my own experience this month, and I recognized it in you back then. It's like, it's intimidating. It's hard to start something new, but if you show up with like the right attitude, like I recognize that. And I think everybody recognizes that. It's like, dude, I'll tell you everything I know, you know, if you're willing to listen, which isn't much, but like, if you're willing to listen, because like, it's hard to show up, and if you're hungry, like, dude, people will rally around that. And I've noticed that like at jiu-jitsu, like I don't know what the heck I'm doing. I don't know about the culture, but people like, I really want to learn. And so people are like rallying around, like helping me, oh, do this or do that. Or now we bow. I'm like, oh, okay, bow. You know, like, it's like you had a great attitude, and I could tell that you wanted to learn. And so I was like, yeah, dude, let's go.
I think like you, I had that trust in Jason when he told me to come out and try water polo, of like, if this is the person who's leading the team, and if these are the people that are on the team, like that, I have that trust that like I can be here and be in this new environment, and that like I'm not gonna get like discouraged being here, more or less, is what I'm trying to say.
I have never met like anyone in my life who is as like welcoming and just makes everyone feel like they are supposed to be there and will work with you wherever you're at with any life circumstances than Jason. Like, he is just an awesome human being. So yeah,
he is.
Cool.
I mean, like,
yeah.
he's still like searching for new opportunities for me. Like, I haven't been on the team in 2 years. I mean, a year and a half at this point. But he's still like he's been pushing hard for me to announce the state championships next year for swimming. Like, he's told me after every meeting that they have, like, that he is always bringing up my name, always like, and like at state championships in 2023, I watched him more or less have a fight with the meet directors to let me go and commentate.
On your behalf, exactly.
Yeah.
That's so cool, yeah.
Like, he will step up for anybody on the team.
I just think that that's like such a great way to like lead. I mean, I saw coaches when we were playing water polo that were the exact opposite, screaming at their players, like, just abusive. And it was like, there's, you know, you can run your program however you want. And there's coaches that get away with crazy stuff. But he just leads with, like, I just feel like the best intentions for, like, it's not about water polo. It's not about swimming. But that's not to say that he's not competitive. It's not like it doesn't matter. But it's like, it's not like win at all costs. It's like, he just has a great way of looking at it. I mean, you know, you experienced it. It's like, when it matters, it matters. And, well, everything matters, but, like, within context. And so I don't even have to like explain. I just trust, you know, in him and what he, you know, what he has as far as like a coaching plan, what he has as far as a game plan, even if it's like a 30-second plan, or it's like swimming a race that's like, wait, really? Like this? It's like, well, I mean, I got nothing to lose. Like, okay. And then it just all works out. You know, if it doesn't work out, then it's going to work out. It's part of the plan for working out. And so I just love that. And so it's awesome. I would not have gone back at the stage of life that I was in if there wasn't that style. And so, no, I mean, it's like, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to have gone back and been like, that's right. You're the shit. I forgot about that. Like, thanks. Now I have that back in my life. And I remember that, like, it's not all about work, and it's not all about whatever the societal pressures are or whatever. Like, just have fun and swim, but, you know, take it seriously, but not too seriously. And he just like really like just leads by example. So I freaking love Craighead.
I mean, there's a reason why like I stayed on the team for 4 years. Why, like, I mean, he helped me make it work when I had transferred out of Las Positas and I was at Cal State East Bay. He had helped me make it work that I would still come back and like do, like, my season doing water polo was my first semester at East Bay. So I finished class and I just cart myself off to Hayward and be in class till like 4 o'clock and then come home. So it was like he made it work for me to do that for that amount of time.
Wait, do I understand correctly that you were at East Bay taking classes but playing water polo at Las Positas when we were on the team?
Yeah.
You and I? No
So
way.
I was doing I think I was in I was doing work experience and some BS easy class to get myself to 12 units at Las Positas.
Oh, so you still had to be a full-time student at Las Positas.
Yeah.
So you were a full-time student at East Bay and a full-time student at Las Positas, and you were a student athlete at Las Positas?
Yeah.
Dude, that's crazy.
I did that for water polo and for my last swim season. So he helped me make that work and make sure that I was able to balance both things.
Was he your other class? So you need 12 units, right? So you get 3 from water polo, 6 from work experience. Where'd you get your other 3?
I think I was in Kate's health class. I think.
Kate's health class.
And I don't think I ever turned anything
in. Well, you said it first. So I was like, this is important stuff. So I won't say anything.
It's been 2 years. It doesn't matter.
Tell me what Tell me what was, what you learned that was the most biggest takeaway from that class. Just kidding.
Well, speaking of you trying out jiu-jitsu, I thought you'd find this interesting. So you graduated from San Jose State. I've transferred there now for my last semesters of college. Within about 5 minutes of me being on campus, I parked, I walked down from the stupid parking garage, and I was walking to find my orchestra class. I watched the entire men's rugby team's eyes just follow me as I was walking by them.
They wanted you.
Yeah. So I will be going out to a practice either on Thursday or next Tuesday.
Nice.
But it was just because they were like, "Do you want to come try rugby?" And I'm like, I mean, I don't not want to come try rugby.
Dude, say yes. I know. I am a big yes man. If you get asked to something, freaking say yes. That's awesome. I mean,
I'm pretty sure they're D1 though, and I'm like, guys, I barely know what rugby is.
I'm a big friendly podcaster. Are you
I'm like, I will show up and I will try, but you need to know that I don't know what rugby is.
That's so cool that you were approached for that. I know the look because I used to see the look every time we were on the pool deck. People would see me on the water polo deck. It's like, oh shit. And they see you, How tall are you?
6'4".
6'4", yeah.
So I'm menacing at first glance. Yeah.
Menacing at first glance, yeah, exactly.
This was something awesome. Fun I wanted to ask you about before I forget. I talked to a few people before I made this interview, and this was a one they thought would be funny to ask you. So, everybody on the team, which I think, first of all, you talked about your mindset on the team, in the 2020s, and when you came back to competing collegiately, and I think that mindset that you had sort of transferred to everybody around you. You were that leader on the team, I think. People respected you, people looked up to you, everybody on the team loved you. I hesitate to think of anybody who had any negative thoughts about you because I don't think they existed. But where did the nickname Sean Nasty originate from?
No, it's so funny you say that because I call everybody that now. Anybody, I would call you Ahmed Nasty. Ever since I heard it, I was like, oh, I love that. But I didn't know where it came from. Honestly, it kind of just stuck, but I do know who it was. It was Jacob Fogelstrom. I'm glad you asked me that prior because I was like, I don't even know where that came from. Maybe he made it up. I don't know. No, just kidding. But no, Fogey, I think the story that I remember hearing was I was, not there. I had to take the kids to school and stuff like that. And so for one of the early water polo practices, early on when those Brentwood guys first came, I think it was Cade that asked who I was. Oh, who's that? And Fogey, I guess, turned to him and was like, oh, you don't know Sean Nasty? And then ever since then, I think Cade led the charge then. He's like, okay, this is Sean Nasty. And then they scream from across campus. I'm like, I'm a 30-year-old with a mustache. Can you please stop calling me Sean Nasty? Around these, girls that are much younger than me. Like, I'm not nasty. I have a family. Like, stop. But it's kind of funny, you know.
I think the funniest thing was watching you like get in like a water polo game and just be like brutal. Like you just swim through people, and it was brutal. And then you just get out and like be hugging your kids and like throwing a football with them. Like the juxtaposition of like this menacing player who is like aggressive and can like lead the charge in games to just like the nice dad is like playing with his kids was always so funny to me.
I love that you're just like totally hyping me up right now, saying that I'm menacing and leading the charge on games. Like, you know, like that first year I played, like, you know, that I was mentioned, like the whole game, and it was fun. They made up like an all conference, right? It was literally just us in West Valley, and they were like Sean Mendez, first team all conference. I think I had 5 goals in 3 games. But then after that, I was like, okay, now we're like really playing water polo, and I'd come off the bench here and there. But I really love playing water polo. But it's funny hearing you say, you know, menacing and leading the charge. But I definitely do have like I really have like, when it comes down to it, a competitive, aggressive nature. And honestly, that's why I'm like loving jiu-jitsu so far. But I wanted to learn more. Like, I don't have like a really strong water polo like foundation. And so I'd sometimes ask like some of the guys like, hey, can you show me like how to do this position and hole set? Where like you like put someone on like a backpack and then like turn and make it look like they're, you know, basically the aggressor when really you're the one that's the perpetrator. And actually, like in one of the last games with like West Valley, I was drawing like a ton of ejections by just doing that, like grabbing their arm, throwing it over me, and making it look like they were, you know, being aggressive, which is part of the game. It's like, don't get caught, you know, basically like with your hands down or whatever. And I had so much fun doing that, you know, just kind of like causing havoc for like the minute that I'd be in, you know, like it was fun. And Craighead would say that. He's like, all right, I need you to go in there and either swim or I need you to go in there and like just cause some trouble. I'm like, okay.
It was always so funny. Like every time he put you in, we'd all just kind of like lean forward a bit because we're like, okay, this is going to be funny. Yeah, like Sean's going to go in and he's going to like destroy some people.
Yeah. I was looking for those opportunities. I appreciate that. Yeah, I wish I was like a little bit more aggressive and knew of some of those positions a bit more, but you know, I had so much fun. I have nothing but fun.
It was so funny just watching you get in and like swim through people. And they just kind of like come with you, and that would open up the door for someone to shoot. Like,
that's the goal. Yeah,
it works so often.
That's awesome. Yeah, no, I love feeling like I was making an impact for the time that I was in. That was cool. But one question that I got a lot, and it was funny to me. I never was offended. Almost every single person that I would have like physical contact with or like some sort of like dynamic with in the pool that wasn't on the team would ask me how old I was. Like sometimes like, bro, how old are you? And then like other times like, hey, do you mind if I ask how old you are? It's like, yeah, this is funny. I understand. But yeah, I'm old.
It sounds like it usually came from a place of like just inclusivity. Like people were just genuinely curious.
And sometimes frustration. Like, dude, how even old are you? You know, like, are you allowed to be in the pool with us? But it's funny because like I was always the younger person. Like right out of college, I, you know, got like a job in corporate America, and like shortly after that got moved to the company that I'm at now. And I was like at 25, and the closest coworker I had in age was like definitely in their 40s. Like I was always in like basically still am like the younger person at work. And so it was funny to like be thought of as the older person, you know, in the pool. But I don't know, I'm just me.
I mean, we that were on the team in 2022 and like in the years that you were on the team, like we still talk about you in like an affectionate, positive way as like that father figure, that leader on the team. Because like you would get in and just lead by example every day. Like you would be the hardest working person in the pool whenever you were there. And I think that like sort of pushed everybody else to work harder too. Like anytime you were in the water, it just elevated the intensity level in a really positive way.
Well, thank you for saying that. I don't know how true that is, but I love that you say that because I really do. Like, I love showing up to swim class, swim practice, whatever, and like asking Jason, like, what are we doing? And like, I want to do those sets, you know, like there was one that we did. It was like, I really liked it. It was like 16 100s. And it was like, 130 and then like 125 and then 130 and then 120 or
Yeah.
all the way down to like try to get it on a minute. And I'm like, dude, I'm trying to go off the wall, beat a minute, and it's like it was like a midweek, midday workout, but I feel like this matters. Like we are swimming with intensity right now. And so I love that. And so if I really am like, leading by example, that's great. Cause I mean, I think it's like so important to have, that like intensity in my life, at least it is, when I feel it, like when my heart is like racing and I got a good workout, the adrenaline's flowing, my endorphins are flowing, like I feel great. And I remember I said to Maya, like in between seasons, like I'll be like, kind of like more stagnant, like not quite languishing, but things just kind of settle. And then starting season again and telling Maya, like, you need to remind me, please, that I need to swim and I need to take classes because that's when I'm in my flow and that's when everything starts clicking. Like I become the best dad and athlete and worker and, home, whatever it is, because I'm in flow and I'm just in a really good place. And so I don't know, it works for me. And I think it works for other athletes too. I think that's why people who play college sports then find other things, like whether it's CrossFit or running or whatever. Cause like, I love that, maybe part of the human condition, like loving that competitive nature and that, pushing oneself beyond potentially like a certain threshold or whatever, like it just feels great. So, I mean, yeah, it's just part of who I am now. Like, I just love putting in the work.
Dude, I remember like that when you would come and swim with us in like 2023, and this was right when I'd met Bella, and she was always so confused because she's like, who's Sean Nasty? Why are you so excited every time he comes in? And I'm like, dude, it's Sean. Like, you gotta be excited whenever he's here.
It's so funny. It's only the guys that are excited about Sean Nasty. Really, like, ew.
We're all like, yeah.
I remember like Maya a couple times. She's like, should I be worried, Sean Nasty? I'm like, I mean, if you're worried about men surrounding me constantly calling me Sean Nasty, then yeah, I'd be worried. But there's nothing.
Like a bunch of guys in like their late teens, early 20s.
Yeah, a bunch of teenage like hormones and testosterone. Then yeah, I'd be worried. She's like, oh yeah, I'm not worried.
She probably came to one game and was like, okay, yeah, I'm not worried.
Yeah, exactly.
So I've interviewed a lot of like D1 athletes and like D1 coaches, but I've always wanted to get somebody who swam for a community college on here because I want to highlight like all levels of swimming. Like D1 swimmers are not the only people that exist. Like I want to highlight D2, D3, every level of the sport. But this is a question that I always ask either graduating seniors or people who have now like retired from swimming. But can you compare your last collegiate season in 2022 to when you were on the very first edition of the team in 2011?
Compare it like in what way? Like my experience, or like
in terms of your experience and like what it was like swimming, just on whatever level like you feel most comfortable with, but just your experiences, what it was like swimming, like what the team was like overall.
I mean, it was so different because like I'm just in a totally different stage of life. Like, so, I mean, what was cool about like what the similarities, like there was consistency with Lauren being there and Jason being there and like it being the same pool. So it was like, I don't know, it was actually like such a cool experience, like for me in particular. And I think, and I also bookended Lauren's coaching stint too. So like,
you're the only person on the team with a longer gap between your first and last season than me.
But I mean, particularly with I know that's awesome. But in particularly with Lauren, so like she was part of the first swim team as I was, And then her last year coaching was also my last year of eligibility. So like there was like so much like new with like now I have a family and I'm old and also consistency and like, you know, things being the same, like Jason's still the same. He looks the same. And, you know, Lauren being part of the team, it being the same pool. So it was a really cool like experience in that it was something that was like consistent in my life before my life looked completely different. And so it was nice to like kind of have that experience. Yeah. It was cool. I don't know if that makes sense, but
no, it does. Like it's like I think that's a really rare opportunity even to have that like that ability to come back to swimming at the same pool with the same like structure in place, like the same coaches. That is not something that a lot of people can claim that they've been able to do, is have that big of a gap between seasons and yet still have the same support team in place.
Yeah. And it was so cool. And like as I reflect on it now, like I really did feel like time was so shortened. Like it seemed when I started swimming, like that was a different life. You know, when I swam in 2011, that was a different life. I was a different person then. But I wasn't a different person. I'm the same person. And so when I got back in the pool and I was doing the practices and then like my heart rate would be at the same that it was, and I was in the same level of like physical condition, I was like, I was right back to when I was like, I guess 19 or 20, probably 20. And it was like, oh my gosh, like, yeah, I forgot. You know, it was almost like Peter Pan, like, you know, oh no, that's a different life. Like, no, you just grew up a little bit. And so it was cool to like still have that connection and those memories that came right back, the smell, and even like the position of the sun too. Like I was there in that season 10 years ago or 11 years ago. And like remembering like, dang, like it was nostalgic, but cool. So yeah.
It probably like subconsciously contributed. It probably like subconsciously contributed to like you swimming faster than you did when you were 19, 20, was that you were having that feeling of like nostalgia and thinking back to that time from 10 years prior. Like that probably like not on a conscious level, but it probably helps your body like swim faster.
No, for sure. And I actually heard your podcast with one of the swimmers, like her name escapes me, but from, I think it was Indiana, who said like happy swimmers or fast swimmers or something like that.
Oh, it was probably Anna Poplawski.
Yeah. Which is, you know, what's so crazy is that like I met someone at the gym this morning who, I mean, I don't know him from Adam. There's no way he knows that I'm a swimmer. And we were just talking. I like set up my camera to like record something, and he just started talking to me, and he's like 75 and looks great. And it's just like, yeah, keep exercising. You know, I was a swimmer back in my day. And I was like, oh, no way. That's so crazy. Like, I'm a swimmer too. And he's like, yeah, I swam against Mark Spitz. He was at Indiana and I was at Michigan or whatever. I'm like, wait, Indiana?
Wait.
I was like, that's so crazy. I was just listening to a podcast from a swimmer from Indiana, a female swimmer. And yeah, and so I was like, this, like, did Ahmed plant you here? Like, what is,
I did.
This is
I
so
did.
good. How often do I talk to swimmers that like randomly just come up and happen to swim against Mark Spitz, you know, who apparently went to Indiana? I didn't even know that. So anyways, yeah, it
was cool, actually. When I interviewed the Indiana head coach, Ray Luz, he asked me, like, he's like, where did you swim? Like, what's your, like, swimming background? And I, like, mentioned Jason's name. And he's like, oh, I know Jason. And I think, so I've drawn the lines kind of here. So if I'm not mistaken, Ray Luz has Bay Area roots. I believe he swam club in the Bay Area. And I think him and Jason may have swam against each other. And like,
yeah, just ask Jason.
After like going to Olympic trials, like I'm convinced that there's maybe like 2 degrees of separation between every swimmer in the country.
2 degrees of separation.
Like literally, because I'd get approached by people and they'd be like, "Oh, do you know so and so?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And I'm like, "Do you know so?" It's so funny how like interconnected this world is. That like people in Maine probably swam with someone in California who swam with somebody in Michigan. Like it's opened my eyes up to how connected everybody really is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, and then, yeah, exactly. Like, not just in swimming, but in everything, you know, which, I mean, not to get on my soapbox, but I think in the same podcast, she talks about, Anna is her name.
Yeah.
From Indiana, was saying about like spreading kindness. And I think she was piggybacking on somebody else. Cause like, yeah, we are all so interconnected. So it makes sense to be kind because those same people are affecting your people too. And, you know, if you love your people, we are all one people.
When I did that interview with her, she told me a really funny story about how, like, so she, to get very swim nerdy on you here, she placed 7th at World Championship Trials in 2023. So she hadn't made the team. Top 6 will make the team, with like 3rd through 6th place being named to the relay. And then Katie Ledecky scratched the individual 200 freestyle, so that bumped Anna up to 7th, or to 6th. She told me a story of like she was sitting with her teammates eating Panda Express because they didn't get to go to Panda Express very often where they lived. So, and she told me like her coach came up to her with like the national team director, and like they had like an envelope, and they were like, "Congratulations, you made the world championship team." And she like basically choked on her food and was like, "Shut up." What are you like? Is this a joke? So when I was at trials, and I got the opportunity to ask her a question in a press conference, I immediately got a laugh out of her because I was like, last winter you told me you found out you made the world championship team while you were eating Panda Express. Like, where were you when you found out this year? She just died laughing. And she was like, I was in my hotel room this time. I found it at a more normal place.
Yeah. Also eating Panda Express.
Yeah.
That's awesome. No, I've heard a couple of your episodes, several of them with coaches. I think UC Santa Cruz coach and CS.
That was a good one.
East Bay coach, and yeah, they're all good. I'm like, wow, like you are a real podcaster. Like, I listen to like Huberman Lab, and I mean that's pretty much it. Like, there's another psychology podcast I listen to, but I'm like, you sound like you know what you're doing. You ask great questions and you seem composed. I was like, man, I'm start listening to Big Friendly Swim podcast. The Hubermans are too long.
Well, I've had some long ones. I had, like, I'll try to tell this story quickly. When I was coming back from Olympic trials, my flight got delayed from Indianapolis by about 5 hours. Mm-hmm. And it kind of screwed me and this other family whose daughter had swam at the meet. They told us we were going to send you from Indianapolis to Austin to San Diego to San Jose. So literally Southwest was the direction we were going to go. Were
you flying Southwest?
Yeah. Of course, it was like with that amount of delay, of course it's Southwest. We get to San Diego and we're joking like, oh, they're going to tell us like, oh, there's no more flights leaving. And about 5 minutes later, they come on the plane. They're like, what are you guys still doing here? There's no more flights leaving. So we had to spend the night in San Diego. And I ended up becoming like good friends with the family and like good friends with the daughter. And we did an interview, and it ended up being a 2-hour, 45-minute interview.
Oh, wow. Yeah, then you are up there with Huberman. Yeah, exactly. Like
that was the longest one I've done by an hour and a half.
Nice. If the conversation's flowing and they got time, right?
Exactly. I mean, as I've gotten more experience doing this, which I appreciate you like comparing me to like people who do this as like a profession.
Yeah.
But I've noticed that like the interviews have gotten longer, but they've also like after the interviews have finished, like these people who I've never met before, I've sat and talked to them for like 30 minutes or like up to an hour, like after the interview, just like casual, friendly conversation. And like I'll see them, like I saw many of them at Olympic trials, and they'd like leave a crowd of people they were signing autographs for to like come shake my hand and say hi to me. So it's like it's definitely been a cool feeling to like be recognized as like a swimming media figure. Like people were recognizing me and like they were like, oh my God, you're the Big Friendly Swim podcast guy, and I'm like, hi.
That's so cool.
I got recognized at like Las Positas meets. like random West Valley swimmers came up to me and they're like, are you the Big Friendly Swim podcast guy? I'm like, yes, I am.
I mean, but yeah, like that's cool. But I mean, on the Olympic trials stage for people to come up to you is like so cool. And I think
it happened like 3 times a day. Like it was insane.
I'm so happy for you. I think the fact that you like just literally just do research about this person, like you looked up times, like I don't know my times, but like you looked up my times, and you are, you look up like these people who you're having as guests, like where they grew up and where they went to school, and like you'll find out about an experience. Like, oh, tell me more about that experience. Like, who isn't gonna be like, oh my gosh, like that was like one of the coolest experiences of my life. Like, thanks for asking. Like, you even invited me here. It was like I was on the phone with my aunt before this, and she's like, oh, I saw you're going to do a podcast. And I was like, oh, you like, how did you say that? She's like, oh, you must be collaborating with this person. I was like, yeah, I did hit like a yes button on Instagram. So I guess that's how that works. And I said to her, because I said, I think it's so cool that somebody wants to like record about my experiences and thoughts. And I said, I don't think anybody's done that since grandma did it when I was a baby. Like to her mom. So no, I think it's like so cool that you reached out to me, and like also it makes sense why people would be coming up to you out of the blue, that you're actually like taking the time to like do research about them and then giving them an opportunity to like talk about their life. So cool.
Thanks, Sean. See, now you're hyping me up. It has been the craziest summer of my life. I mean, like, and now, like, I've got plans for, like, this next, like, swim season. Like, I'm going down to Arizona. I got invited down to Arizona in November to cover, like, a tri-meet that ASU is doing with Cal and Stanford. And, like, when the ASU swimmers found out, like, the ones that I know, they were immediately like, oh my God, we're going to like take you out to dinner somewhere and we're going to like go like hang out. And I think it's cool being like at the same or similar age as a lot of people that I'm interviewing, because I am making friends. Like there are these people I still talk to on a weekly basis, just like for fun, not even related to any interview thing. But it's like I am making friends.
Yeah, like real connections. Don't change too much on your road to fame.
I still get so excited like when I get a new interview, or when like I get just as excited now when I get a new interview than when I did when like I got like my first one in like 2020. Like it's still the same level of excitement. Like I don't think it's ever gonna wear off. Like it's insane to me. I did 2 interviews in 2020. I did 1 in 2021. I did like 6 or 7 in 2023. And then I've done like 40 this year.
That's awesome. I don't know if you have any like sponsorships or anything yet, but once you find that, that'll be great, because like this is the thing that you're going to be, like if this is the thing that you would be doing for free anyways, as you're doing. Yeah. And so, you find a way to make money on it, and it's like that you found your thing.
Well, it's awesome. Funny. Like we brought up Lauren earlier, and she was the first one to tell me you should try to pursue journalism as a career. Like she pulled me aside like her last day. She pulled me aside her last day, and she was like, you have a passion for this. You have a talent for this. You need to pursue journalism as a career.
That's so cool that she like saw that in you and pushed it, because it's like, that's what I love about like coaches in general too. It's like they are leaders, and like obviously they're hired to coach for swimming, but like take the time to get to know the athlete and the person. And like, if you see something, say something. And it's like, I don't think it's like a breach of any sort of boundary to be like, hey, I noticed this about you, and you are either going the wrong way in this direction, or you need to keep leaning into this in that direction. And like, it's like, yeah, you're with me in the pool like for this many hours a week, and you've known me for this number of years. Like, yeah, like coaches should direct and lead. And I love Lauren. I miss her.
I miss her too. I don't know if you were there, but she came back for conference championships in 2023. She came back for a day and like said hi to everyone. Like the people on the team who were new were so confused, and like everybody else was like really excited because we're like, oh my God, it's Lauren. Everybody's like, who's Lauren?
I did see her actually, because she came to 1 or 2 of the what is it, like the swim classes, like not the practices, but the class that is at the college, and swam, and it was good to see her and her husband. So I did see her during that time. It's cool.
It was pretty cool as she came back to visit, and like when I went out to like lunch with Jason and Kate to like tell them about Olympic trials and like show them like pictures and stuff. And like Jason told me like Lauren was really excited that she was watching all the stuff I was doing. So that was a pretty cool like set of circumstances to have.
Awesome.
My last question for you before we wrap things up here, because I imagine you probably have a busy day. Is this is another like I have like certain questions that I ask everybody, but I like shape them to the person. So, with 2 years behind your last collegiate swim, behind like that, I think that 200 butterfly that you did was your last individual swim that you did. What lessons and things that you learned from any of your swim seasons have you carried with you?
Well, I definitely learned like people that I'm accountable might disagree or chuckle to this one, but I feel that I learned and have mastered like time management. And so I had already so much on my plate and am able to take on more and more and more from honestly getting back into like, sorry, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can still hear you.
I got a call on this phone, so it just disrupted me for a second. But basically, like what I took away, and I hope I'm answering the question that you asked, in the right context. But like swimming, honestly, taught me like time management in the best way possible for my schedule. Because like the swimming was not at the forefront of my focus when I was swimming and playing water polo. Like I have a career and I have a family and I have a house and I have like so much responsibilities and so much that I'm accountable to, but I really wanted to swim. And so it really helped me figure out like, oh yeah, like I just like a major one now is the kids sports. So like they're like one of Hudson's like favorite things to say as he's still 9, he's turning 10 soon, is that he's 9 years old and he's played 9 sports. So it's like I have his sports schedule, Hayden's activities and sports, and then now apparently my sports, and then everything else that comes with being an adult. And so really like, I don't know if that's the answer you were looking for, but truly like it really taught me like there's so much you can do in a day. You just have to like think about how it all fits in. And if like, and the cool thing about like working with Craighead too is like there's a morning practice, there's an afternoon practice, there's evening time. Like Daniel let me swim with his year-round team. It's like if you can get in the pool, even if it's my own pool, I'll give you workouts, like just figure it out, and obviously with a lot of grace there too. But like it's really helped me to be able to figure out like I can do a lot in a day. I just need to think about how it all fits together, and I'll ask for help when I need help. But that for me is cool because I am like a busy person. I like to stay busy. And so having that, like, I remember thinking when Jason asked me to like do it, I'm like, I don't have time for that. There's no way. When would I do it? And so proving to myself, like, not only can you do it, but you can go to the meets and be successful in work still. Like I'm still a top performer at work, and I hope the kids think I'm a good dad. But like, you know what I mean? Like they sometimes tell me I am. So, but yeah, like that you can do so much if you want to. And so that's for me what the biggest takeaway was at my age, was learning how much I can actually do and like do it fairly well.
Yeah, I think like that's something that swimming, if you let it, will always teach you, is just that time management. Because I mean, you have to figure out some method of time management when you're swimming for 2 hours a day, plus like up to an hour of dry land, and like all the challenges that come with that, like huge chunk of your day dedicated to just one thing. Like it can be a really beneficial thing for anybody because it'll affect everybody differently, that level of time management. But it definitely is like one of the best things that swimming can teach you, is just how to manage that time where you can still be doing the things that you enjoy, but still be doing things towards like future career goals or family goals or supporting other people. Like swimming is a really, really good sport for that. But the practice times are also very long.
Yeah. And obviously like I was able to kind of I was not able to put in the full 2 hours. But as you told me, I didn't even know that I was beating those times, like you said. But like, I was still able to find success with what I was able to give. And then yeah, sorry, I did it on my phone, and I usually don't get that many calls, but they're all spam calls. But anyways, that I was still able to find success in swimming with the work that I was putting in, but also like truly it helped me be better in all the other domains of life. Like by swimming, and I mean, I'm like, there's science behind it for sure, with like the exercise that I was putting in, like getting my heart rate up to a certain amount, the endorphins, the being in a flow state, whatever it is, I was then able to be like, know exactly what I needed to do to get my work stuff done. Know exactly what needed to happen in order to like have the kids picked up and have them brought to practice, and then be present with them when I'm with them, and et cetera, so swimming also taught me that too, like not just time management, but I need to swim more.
Sean, thank you so much for sitting down with me. I've been wanting to get this together for a while. I've just been like doing thing after thing, and I'm like, okay, I'll ask him this week. But I'm glad we were finally able to get this set up, because this was an interview I've been really wanting to do. So I'm really grateful that you sat down with me for this.
Oh no, me too. I was overwhelmed that you even asked me. I'm like, you want to have me on a podcast? Like, I love podcasts. I never thought that I'd be on one, but it's been so fun talking with you, and you asked great questions, and I really am grateful to be here too.
Thank you. I'm so happy we were able to do this.